Well, I'm going to hazard a guess and say that my father didn't just stop in here for coffee. Dragged him in off the street, maybe at gunpoint. That would constitute a crime. If you want to press charges, I'd be more than happy to prosecute.
Oh, boy, it'd be very tempting to send you to prison. But in the end, I don't think it's worth the time to press charges. Because you see, any competent lawyer could get the case thrown out of court for lack of evidence.
Well, charging Jason with assault would get him off the street.
Yeah, an hour or so. Unless you trump up murder charges while Mr. Morgan is down at the precinct.
Last time Jason was charged with murder, it wasn't fabricated. He walked into Lorenzo Alcazar's home, shot him in cold blood, and then he dumped his body in the harbor.
Well, you couldn't make that stick in open court. So unless you want to be next, I would suggest that you stop antagonizing Mr. Morgan. Because it seems to me, he could put a bullet in both of us. But then again, you know, there would be a terrible bloody mess on the boss's floor. And you wouldn't have the time to clean it up with such short notice. So, come on, Rick.
No,
Let's go.
Stick around for a while. I have a few more questions for Mr. Morgan. So, I hear Johnny Zacchara's paid several visits to Port Charles recently. And he's reputed for being unstable and very violent. What are the chances that he's responsible for Letitia's murder?
I got nothing to say without my attorney.
I see. Still refusing to cooperate with law enforcement, even though we're trying to solve the murder of an innocent woman whose only crime was agreeing to work for Sonny. You know, Letitia raised Michael and Morgan from the time they were born. She loved and cared for those children as if they were her own. And what'd she get for it? Phone cord wrapped around her neck. If Johnny Zacchara is responsible for Letitia's murder, Jason, then he needs to be put in prison before he can do it to somebody else. And if you have any information, I would appreciate it if you would tell me.
Why don't you call Diane? You got her number?
You know what? You don't speak for yourself, okay? You certainly don't think for yourself. And God knows, you don't make a move. Unless Sonny tells you to. I mean, look what happened tonight. Wanted to kill both me and my father. But you couldn't take action unless Sonny gave you the approval.
Like I said, I got nothing
As a mob
to
enforcer,
say
sir,
to
you have a reputation for being a well-trained, highly feared killing machine. But the only problem is that you can't pull the trigger unless Sonny orders you to. That makes you nothing more than a trained guard dog.
Okay, picked up Trevor just like you asked. I had him waiting here. Rick shows up. Of course,
We got a big problem, Rick.
Zacchara is crazy. I'm talking out of his mind. And I'm not just talking irrational. He is insane. One minute, he's talking about roses. Next minute, he's talking about coming after my family.
Are you sure it wasn't an ad?
No, it's real. Trevor hasn't wanted me to see him because he doesn't want the truth to come out. Okay, I just thought that Trevor was a mouthpiece, but he's been running Zacchara's organization in his name. The real enemy here is Trevor Lansing. From what I hear, Zacchara's always been crazy, ruthless bastard, okay? Who's been hanging on by a thread. If his wife was murdered, that could have been enough to make it a snap.
And when he did, Trevor was there to pick up the pieces.
Right, and Trevor, got him out of the city, left him in Crimson Point, had somebody watching him 24 hours. Hey, you know what? If nobody knows that Zacchara's crazy, then Trevor can run things in his name.
And he has complete deniability.
It's a perfect setup. Trevor can call the shots, and, Zacchara can take blame for the fallout.
You said Anthony made some threats. What?
He's totally and criminally insane, and there's no doubt in my mind that if he got loose, he would make good on his promise and come after my family.
Jason, thank God you're here. I have so much to tell you, starting with Lulu. You'll never believe what she did this time.
You need to let me go first. It's important. Checked on Michael and Morgan, and they're fine.
Why wouldn't they be fine?
Because Sonny met with Anthony Zacchara today.
Did he see Lulu there because she...
Please, Carly, you need to listen to me. Sonny says that Anthony is crazy. And I'm talking totally insane. He threatened to kill Michael and Morgan.
You're not going to let that happen.
Zacchara is basically a prisoner in his own home. There's guards on him 24/7. He has no real power.
Well, why are you scaring me like
because
this?
Sonny says if this guy got loose, he might make good on his word. You're their mother. You need to know the danger exists.
What are you going to do about this?
It's complicated. Sonny says the place is like a fortress. It would be really hard to get to Zacchara, and nobody knows the guy's crazy. Trevor's been covering for him for years. So it would look like the Sonny went in, killed his rival in his own home without being provoked.
And then someone would turn around and do that to Sonny.
Right. I mean, it's just going to take time to deal with Zacchara. I mean, that doesn't mean you and the boys need to change how you live. But you need to be careful this time.
If that son of a bitch comes near my kids, I'll kill him myself.
I'm going to take care of it. Not as soon as I would like, but I will.
I want you to tell me everything that's happened. Start from the beginning so I can wrap my brain around it, Jason.
It's just business. It's most of it.
If Anthony Zacchara is trying to kill my kids, then I get to know why. Okay, listen to me. Lulu was here. She took off with Johnny Zacchara again, and then Zacchara's men picked her up. Mm-hmm. She was in the Zacchara house.
Yeah, as soon as Sonny got there, he had her sent home.
I don't understand. If Anthony's not in charge, how can he have his men pick her
Trevor
up?
Lansing is running the Zacchara organization. He can only do that by hiding the fact that Anthony's absolutely crazy.
So Trevor had Lulu picked up.
Right, so Johnny would come back home. Anthony is obsessed with his son. And you know what? Trevor uses Johnny to keep Anthony calm and manageable.
So all those trips to Port Charles was just so Johnny could get away from his crazy father.
And if anything happens to Johnny, Trevor loses all control over Anthony.
Which explains why Trevor was so weirdly overprotective of Johnny. Telling me to keep Lulu away from him. Huh. You know, he made Johnny out to be the crazy one, when Anthony's the nut job, and Johnny's basically in the unfortunate position of being a bargaining chip.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's not like Johnny's completely normal. I mean, he's a little off. Why wouldn't he be? You know, he's the son of a mob boss. Been around violence his whole life. Are you sure Michael and Morgan are okay?
I can check with the guards again.
I'm just thinking how Johnny is basically a hostage for his father. I don't want that to happen to Michael and Morgan.